This is the highly anticipated podcast with Chiamaka.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast. This is I Say What I Want, Nothing But the Truth with your favorite host, whom you can now see, Chiamaka. Welcome back. How are you? I don't know what's up. How are you doing? What's good? What's popping? I don't know if you want to know, but I'm literally on a roll. I'm recording like 3 podcasts in one day because things are happening. So I'm on a roll, and yeah, it's very difficult. It's just very difficult. Well, here we are because 2023 is the year of consistency, whether the devil likes it or yes, it's the year of consistency. So, anyways, today I think right now, because I just finished recording one, I'm still trying to get into recording again, but I'm going to just start talking. So good morning, good afternoon, good night, or good evening. I just say good night, good evening, depending on the time you're listening to this podcast. If this is your first time, welcome back. If this is not your first time, you're my G, and I really appreciate you. And thank you for coming back. Yay, you. Okay, so last episode, I believe we talked about. I really need to stop saying we talked about. Maybe I should start allowing you guys to talk, because I don't know why I keep saying we talked about. But last week, I talked about adulthood and how I feel or I think it's impossible to adult without Jesus. So adults, you need to include Jesus so that your adulting life can go well, really and truly. And in sometime probably April or May, I'm going to try to start a new series that I've been saying that I'll start for a long time, where I won't say the name, where where I would bring on my fellow 20 somethings, and then we just talk about things that we're going through, career, just people in career, people in finances, relationship. I'll try, because it's gonna be a lot of work, so I'm gonna try and bring on people so that we can have a conversation. But today, just like flowing from the whole adulting and everything, and how important it is for us to have a manual. So if you're watching or listening to this and you are a writer, please consider writing a manual for adulting. Trust me, it's going to sell. Bestseller, New York best. Don't play. Don't play. But anyways, today we're going to be talking about seeking approval. So I don't think the topic is going to be seeking approval. I don't know what topic is going to be. Just, it will come up, but it's just seeking approval. And as your fellow 20-something, or as your fellow person going through adulting, it's very interesting that we tend to seek approvals from people, not just people, from family, from friends, before we do something. Now, stay with me. I want to try and build something. Just try to articulate everything all at once. So when you come into and again, this podcast is all about, is Bible based, is Jesus that we're talking about, but we're just relating Jesus to the everyday life of a 20-something year old, and so that we can relate it and then bring Jesus into the mix, because last you need Jesus. Good. So as I was saying, when you step into the life of a believer, God would require you to do certain things. He would require you to take crazy steps, and he's going to test your faith. And in doing those things, there will be things that are not ordinary, in terms of things that will take you out of your comfort zone. And so if you are seeking approval from your family or from your friends, it's very likely that they would not agree with that decision. It's very likely that they will tell you, don't do it though. Nobody has done it before. Are you okay? Are you thinking correctly? Don't do it. And then if you now say, well, my family, they said I should not do it, and then you don't do it and you miss out on something. I mean, eventually you still have to do it in the long run, it depends, but you just miss out on it. And it can get very difficult having to choose between Jesus and your parents. So when you come into the life of a believer, God is going to require you to do some things. And if your parents or your mother or your father or your guardian, they are not people that are very strong in their faith, they are Christians, don't get me wrong, they know that there's a God, they believe, they pray and all of that, but they are not strong in their faith. They don't understand, or they don't have a believable reference to you taking, or to somebody taking a crazy step that God told them. It doesn't make any sense to them. It's like, try telling your African parents that, oh mom, dad, I don't want to go to school anymore. Okay, let's take it back a bit. So in the days of our parents and all that, medicine, law, accounting, engineering, those were the courses that you have to do. Mama doctor, my son is an accountant, lawyer, engineer. Those were the courses that you had to do for you to be able to prove that you are somebody in life. Now imagine in that time, that era, now you now come into the faith, and you've accepted Jesus, and you're building your relationship with him, you're building intimacy, and then you are praying and saying, okay, God, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I know that I'm gifted, I know I'm good at acting or music or singing or drama and all that, but I don't know what I want to do. And then God tells you, you know what, go and study theater arts in the university. And then in that era, I'm not talking about now, because now it's a bit flexible because of, times have changed. But that era, you now sit your father, your mother down, and you now say, daddy and mommy, and you're now brilliant. So it's different if maybe you're not very good at school, we're not very good at like academics or books were not really your thing. You're more life, practical steps, let's go there, let's do it. So but you are the brilliant type that all your teachers, they've said is medicine you have to study, or even if it's not medicine, go and do engineering. You now sit down there, that they've already called you doctor all your life, you now go and meet them and say, I don't want to study medicine, I want to study theater arts. God told me. You have to put that. God told me to study theater arts. The first question that they will ask you is that, do you think God is not talking to me? Do you think God is not talking to us? Like, it's not going to fly. It's going to be a struggle. Like, do you think God is not talking to me? Do you know how we've put you through school? This and that. It's just going to be talk upon talk upon talk upon talk. And then they tell you, you have to study medicine. You don't have a choice. You have to study medicine. And then you now go back and say, oh God, you told me to study theater arts now. Like, and they are not accepting it. What you don't understand is that you thought that because God said it would be easy. You thought that, because God said, all of a sudden, all the path is just very clear. No, it's still a bush. You're still going to be cutting and cutting and cutting. There's a path. You can see the path, but there are, what they call them, weeds, what they call them, these shrubs or things that shall intertwine in your way, and you have to literally be cutting them off as you move. So you now finish having a conversation with your father and your mother now, and they said, no, you can't do it. That them too, they listen to God, and God did not tell them anything. And then it's just constant back-to-back conversation. It's hard. You don't know what to do. You're torn between obeying God and obeying your parents. And same Bible tells us that obey your father and your mother so that your days will be long. So how do you then make a decision between I'm not used to video, my eyes are scratching. How do you then make a decision, because make a decision as per God has told you to do something, and your mom and your dad, they're not having it at all? And that was in that time, right? And what usually happens, or what I have seen happen in terms of books or like people's testimonies, is that they would reach a compromise with their parents and say, okay, you know what, let me try this thing for a couple of years. If it doesn't work, then I'll go and study medicine. So I'm currently reading a book, Bamboozled by Jesus by Ovie-Agbani, and this is practically part of her story. Her parents wanted her to study medicine, or she also wanted to study medicine, but then she's into acting and comedy. And she had a conversation with her parents, and they're like, no, first off, you are living in America. You have to study medicine. Who is a comedian? At where? At what point do you think comedy is going to bring money to you? But she knew that God had called her into that industry. And then she told her parents that, you know what, it's fine. Just give me a couple of years. I think she said 3 or 4 years. Might be wrong, but she give me a couple of years, and if it doesn't work out, then I'll go back and study medicine. Now, you would think that God is the one that told her to go and study medicine now. So, sorry. God is the one that told her to go into comedy and acting and all that stuff. So you would think that from the first day, everything will just peak, and then she will just be a whole sensation, and everybody's booking her left, right, center. And no. That's why I say, like, there's a part though, but it's not going to be automatic. You have to go through it as well, because there are things about you that you need to drop. Habits, attitudes, personalities, they're just things that you have to shed off. It's a whole shedding process. Because God has said, oh, do this, it doesn't mean by tomorrow you just blow. No, you have to go through it. It's steps, principles. There's a process, and you cannot skip the process, because you have to go through. You have to be better. You need to be refined for where you're going to, so that when you go there, you'll be able to handle it. So that when you get there, that nasty attitude, pardon my word, but that attitude that you have, that you self, you know is not good, when you get there, it will not now be the reason why they will send you outside. So God has to take you through it, through different seasons, so that you can build your faith in Him, build your trust in Him, and you can be a better person. So that when you get there, you're a refined version of you, right? And so the first couple of years, it was very difficult for her. Like, she was broke. At some point, she didn't have a place to stay. At some point, she finally got a place to stay. The comedy was not really picking up. It was, I think, okay, I have to check, but I think it was 4 years. Let's just say it was 4 years. It was the 4th year that it now picked up. So imagine now that the first year, the second year, the third year is not giving. Lord, if I was studying medicine, my parents will support me. I have a place to stay. I have money. I have allowance. But now I'm doing the thing that you asked me to do, and it's not really giving, Lord. It's not giving. I don't have money. Which way? Which way? Right? But she stayed there. And we all love Ovie-Agbani for her comedy, for her acting skills, and just the fact that she embodies Christ. And so everywhere she goes to, she's very quick to mention that she's a Christian. She's not trying to hide it, and she has a platform. She's a big person, basically. So just imagine that she now went to go and do medicine because her parents gave her legitimate reasons. They brought her from Nigeria to America, which, at that time was a lot of things. It was a big deal for your parents to. They were not like American citizens. They took them from Nigeria to America. So it means that they were working maybe multiple jobs or something, and sending you to school. It's a lot. So they have legitimate reasons. So when you come into the space as a believer, God is going to require something of you. It's not it's going to give you work. It's going to tell you to do things that will take you out of your comfort zone. It's very possible that He's going to do that. And you now find yourself in a dilemma where if you tell your parents or if you tell your friends, it doesn't make sense, but this is what God has asked you to do. It's not the norm. People are not doing it. At that time, people were not dropping medicine to go and study theater arts. Now, people willingly go and study theater arts. At the time, people were not dropping law to go and study what now? Computer science. But now, computer science is a big deal. So the dilemma is, in trying to seek approval, how do you balance out obeying God and obeying your parents? And it doesn't take away what the scripture said that we should obey, because we should still obey our parents so that our days will be long. But I think it's communication and standing your ground. So I don't use myself as an example, but I've been through it where I had to choose between obeying God and satisfying my parents' desires. Because what you need to understand is your parents love you. Absolutely, they want the best for you. But in as much as they want the best for you, they don't have your life mapped out for you. The person that has your life mapped out for you is God. So because they took you through primary, secondary, uni, and all that, that's your parents, they paid for all that. It doesn't mean that they have the next 10 years of your life mapped out. It doesn't mean that they know what's going to happen to you tomorrow. They are just praying and hoping and believing that you make the right choice. But it doesn't mean that they have everything mapped out for you. Now, it's also possible that they have everything mapped out. Their parents like that they have everything mapped out for you. But it also doesn't mean that is the path that God wants you to go on. And it also doesn't mean that that plan that they mapped out for you, you'll be happy in it. So you now come in and then God is saying, okay, I want you to travel to this country. And your parents are saying, no, I want you to stay here. So, like, how do you have that conversation without fighting them? How do you have that conversation without disobeying them? How do you have that conversation without being rude to them? Because you're not supposed to be rude. So I won't tell you what happened with me. I'll just give you small gist. So the small gist is God asked me to make a very key decision that would change the trajectory of my life. And when I told my parents about it, they were not having it at all. It was a clear no. Even me, I knew that it was a clear no. But we had a conversation. Now, was it easy? No, it wasn't easy. It was constant back and forth. It was constant conversations, really hard conversations, days of tears, days of confusion. I was always like, but you asked me to do this thing now I'm doing it, they're not agreeing. I'll cry, I'll be like, what's happening? But did they come into it overnight? No, it took time. It took quite a number of time, but they eventually were fine, because I didn't reach a compromise with them. I just told them, pump and play, this is what I'm doing. If I perish, I perish. But this is what I'm doing, and this is what I have to do. And I don't want to live a life where, had I known, I would have just followed God. Or if I had known now, I would have just, because as a young person and fellow 20-something and all that good stuff, we're young. So we have time to explore. We have time to make mistakes, which they are not bad things. So for me, it was a case of, if I do this thing and it doesn't work out, okay, cool. Will it pay me? Of course it will. It will pay me, but okay, cool. On to the next. Okay, this one did not work. What can work? But just imagine that I'm, married with children and everything. I cannot just make spontaneous decisions like that. I have a whole family to think about. But now that I can think on my feet without having a whole family to think about, let me do it. Let me explore. If it doesn't work out, okay, life goes on. As long as it's not a detrimental decision, something that is life and death. As long as it's not life and death, let's try it now. Let's see. So I think that just like Yvonne, she had a conversation and they were not having it, and then she compromised. I did not compromise. I just told them, pump and play, this is what God has asked me to do. And I prayed. I had difficult conversations. Hey, it was hard. It was a season. Woo. Wow. It was a season. I had really difficult conversations. Things were said. Tears were coming down. My head was moving wild. Like, it was crazy. But I obeyed God. And I tell you for a fact, without mincing words, that it was the best decision. At the time, it didn't look like it made sense to do what I wanted to do. But right now, it makes a whole lot of sense. So sometimes we're trying to understand the instruction, we're trying to see the end, we're trying to say, okay, God, if you want me to do this thing, what's in it for me? Or what am I going to get at the end of the day? We can't see it. But if you just trust and obey God, and then you do what He asks you to do, you would now find yourself in that space where you can now look back and say, oh, wow, I'm very happy that I actually obeyed, because, wow, this thing is really good. Like, this thing is great. It's pretty amazing, But I just think that a lot of us are in that space where there are things that we want to do. God has, and I'm not saying that things that you want to do as per your own thing. No, I'm diffused. If it's your own thing, seek counsel. Even with God, still seek counsel. Like, don't go and run off. I say I'm doing it, but still seek counsel. So if you're at the space where God has told you to do something, you've spoken to somebody that can listen to you and has the Spirit of God in him or her, because it's not everybody that you run off to and go and tell. The person has the Spirit of God in him or her, and the person has confirmed it with you that this is what God needs you to do. And then you're at this space where you need to have that conversation with your father, with your mother, with your guardian, with your friends, with your spouse, whoever it is. Let me just tell you for free, it's going to be very hard. It's going to be a difficult conversation, but I bet you'll be better off for it. Trust me. You'll be better. Have you ever seen somebody that obeyed God and the person, like, let me rephrase that. Have you ever seen anybody that's obeyed God and the person was not better off for it? Anybody at all? That God told the person to do something and the person followed fully and the person followed through with it, with every instruction, and the person ended up miserable, or the person ended up sad, or the person ended up like that? No, I don't think so. I really don't. There's nobody. I don't think there's anybody. So it's going to be difficult. And I know that you're thinking, oh, if God asks me to do something, it means that it will be easy. No, you're going to put in the work. You're going to work. Just because God said doesn't mean you're not going to put in the work. You have to work. You have your own parts to play. So you need to have those difficult conversations. They are going to be difficult because you're literally trying to not convince, but tell another human being like you, who has logic, who has emotions, what's something that the sovereign God has said. So his human mind, or a human mind, cannot grasp it. She can only understand it based on the current environment. You need to understand that what we feed into our mind is as a result of our upbringing, our environment, or we listen to what we see. So if you're used to seeing just things in your environment, it means your mind is limited and you can't see past that. So when somebody comes to tell you something that is different from what is happening in your current environment, it looks big. I'll say it again. When you're growing up, what you expose your mind to is what you think is possible. If you grew up in a place where people had not traveled out of the country, to you it would seem to be like a very impossible task. That you want to travel out. Where do you want to start from? But if you grew up in an environment where people travel as far, it's normal. It's not a big deal. You're not thinking about, oh, how do you start traveling? You already know what to do. So what I'm saying is that when God gives you an instruction, He's not going to limit it to your environment. He's not going to limit it to what you know. He's going to give you something away from your environment to open your eyes and to open your mind. So it will be bigger than you. Now, you are not telling somebody that grew up in the same environment as you. The person cannot understand it. If God tells you, if you grew up in an environment where God has given you the instruction to travel out, and you tell somebody that is a frequent traveler, the person will be like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, I can point you in the right direction. Oh, I have this agent. Oh, I have this connect. Oh, I know where you can get your passport. I know how you can get your visa. Oh, you actually don't even need a visa for this country. I know how you can get money. I know you can change money. That will be the conversation, because that person is a frequent traveler. Now, if you tell it to somebody who is in the same environment as you, somebody that has not traveled as well, it will seem very impossible. The person will be like, you want to travel, you don't even have passports. You even know how much they even do in passports. That will be the conversation. So you need to understand that what your parents or your friends, they are not, well, I want to believe they're not against you. Because I wanted to just outrightly say they're not against you. I want to believe that they're not against you. But let's just go with that they're not against you, right? When you tell them, they're trying to understand it because it's something that they have never seen before. It's something that people don't do this thing. So where are you getting this idea from? So when you explain it to them, you also need to come from the point of, oh, even me too, I don't know it, but I trust the person that is telling me. I trust this person that is telling me to do this thing because I know that he is sovereign. And so if he's telling me to do this thing because he has seen it, back to our favorite scripture, I know the thoughts and the plans that I have for you, plans of good and not of evil, to bring you to an expected end. So if God is telling you to do something, it's because he has already seen the end from the beginning. You cannot grasp it. You don't understand it. But your job is just to obey. Your parents, they don't understand it too because in their lifetime, they probably have not seen it. So don't fight with them that, I'm telling you that God asked me to do something you don't understand. No. They don't understand genuinely. And you two, you don't understand genuinely. So the conversation would be, I understand where you guys are. I understand that you don't get it. I understand that this thing that God is asking me to do is bigger than us, right? But do we trust God? Yes, we do. So let us even try and give God a chance. Let me just obey him and then let's see what's going to happen. That analogy, it was sweeting me because I've never thought about it like that. That when you're used to something, you're just used to something and you just talk to, because your parents, they know you now. They trained you, right? So they know you. You too, you know them. So when you come to them with a different idea, they're like, where did you pick this one up from? It must be the phone. It must be the social media. I said it. They're not doing anything on there, right? So they don't understand genuinely. And I'm saying it because I want to believe that your parents are not against you. If not, I beg you, God. But they don't know it genuinely. So it's not for you to fight them. It's for you to talk. And the conversations will not be easy again, like I said, because they are going to come from the angle of, I know more than you. You don't know this thing. I'm telling you this thing. This is how it is. But you're coming from the angle of, well, I know I don't know this thing, but I kind of know somebody that knows all things, and that person has told me to do this thing, and yeah, I trust that person more than I trust you, because even you don't know what's going to happen to you tomorrow, and that person knows. So let me go and obey that person. Conversations will be hard. It will be difficult, but they are necessary. And at the end of the day, you need to make sure that even in having those conversations, it doesn't change your mind. You still need to stand your ground. That I get, this reason is legit. This reason is legit, but at the end of the day, I still have to obey God. Last. I still have to obey God. So I don't even know if I'm going to title this thing seeking approval. I don't know what's going to be titled, but when you come into the faith family as a believer, you will need to make decisions, and you need to, like, there are people in your life, parents, your spouse, your children, and all that, but you need to have a conversation, and you need to trust God that he's telling you to do it. He knows that you're going to have those conversations. So at first, initially, it will be hard, but later on, things would get easy. And don't be rude about it. Don't say, this is what I'm doing. Oh, please. You can't tell me that. No. Like, you have to be a mumu for a while. Like, just make them understand and see reasons and say, no, I'm not saying it. No. They will see. Success. You can't. They are saying it now because they've not seen the impact that thing is going to bring to you. Once they see it, it's them that will be shouting everywhere that, you don't know my daughter, you don't know my son, they're sleeping. They will do free adverts for you. Free adverts. So don't miss out on the great thing that God has in store for you because you're trying to please your parents. Obey your parents, yeah. Have the conversation, yeah. But ultimately, obey God. Ultimately. obey God. Okay, yeah, that's the end of this episode. I don't know what I'm going to title it here, but by the time you see it, there'll be a title. So I really hope this blessed you as per usual. Oh, I didn't tell you guys to be safe and God bless you in the last episode. Wow, bad character. I'm sorry. Thank you for listening. Have a great week. God bless you and stay safe. Bye.